When my blood brother tried to kill me, I thanked him, because instead of dying, I found a way to completely destroy him and his family. Bandaged him in hospital bed. My name is John. If you don't watch this story to the end, that will be your biggest regret. Because I will tell you how 15 years of brotherhood were destroyed in 15 minutes and how the price was paid. But first, know this. It wasn't an accident. The person who cut the brakes on my car was the man I called my brother for 25 years. And the reason is the most shocking story of betrayal I will ever tell you. Henry and I were born on the same day. My mother thought we were twins. We had a terrible childhood. Drunk dad, depressed mom, but we protected each other. Us against the world, we used to say. We ran away from home at 18. We started working construction. Henry was strong. I was smart. We were the perfect team. 10 years later, our company was worth $20 million. But what Henry hid from me was that he had already promised that money to someone else. In 2018, our construction company collapsed. Brothers Construction was handling some of London's biggest projects. I was the architect. He was the site manager. 50-50 its partners. The perfect balance. By 28 we were both millionaires. Henry had his wife and Annie and 2 children. I was single and focused on work. But things were changing. Because Henry's wife and Ellie was in love with me. And when she found out, she decided to kill me. But what she didn't know was that I had already discovered his plan. It all started last summer. Annie was unhappy in her marriage. Kamel was always at the construction site coming home late. He didn't care about the children. Emily started talking to me, first about the children, then about Henry's neglect, and then about her own loneliness. One evening while Henry was out of town and Ellie came to me. She was crying, and what happened that night was the end of 15 years of sisterhood, because the message Henry found on her phone the next morning would drive her crazy. I hugged Emily. I just hugged her. I consoled her, made her tea, sent her home. Nothing happened, but Zainab had texted me saying, "Thank you. You're a better husband than Henry." Kamel saw the message the next morning, because Zainab had mistakenly sent it to him, not to me. When the phone rang, he went crazy. And that phone call was the beginning of his plan to kill me, because even if I had told him the truth, it would have been too late. Henry had made his decision, and I realized it too late. "You made fun of my wife," he shouted into the phone. "Henry, calm down, nothing lie. I saw the message. You took her from me." I tried to tell the truth, that Emily had just come to talk, that nothing had happened, but she wouldn't listen. 15 years of sisterhood is over, Eric. I will destroy you. But the real shocker was his destruction plan. He didn't just try to push me out of the company. He decided to physically eliminate me too. Henry tried to take my 50% stake in the company. Lawyers, lawsuits, fights. But I wasn't naive either. I kept all the documents. Then strange things started happening. My car's tires were slashed. Thieves broke into my office. There were accidents at work. I received threatening messages. And that's when I made the smartest move. Because I knew Henry was going to try to kill me. So I filled the whole place with cameras and fell into his trap. I hired a private security guard. There were hidden cameras everywhere. My house, my car, my office, wiretaps, 24-hour security. "You're paranoid," my friend said. But I knew Henry. He wouldn't give up. And I was right. 3 weeks later, I discovered his plan. He was going to cut the brakes on my car. And that morning, October 15th, I decided to give him the biggest shock of his life. Because the person he thought was dead was actually going to kill him. The morning of October 15th, I knew Henry had sabotaged my car, so I hired a stunt double. Same clothes, same route. He drove my car instead of me. The accident happened. The ambulance. The hospital. News of the deaths. Henry was filmed watching the news on television. He was smiling. He was happy about his blood brother's death. But the real shock for Kamel came 3 days later, because the person who came to my funeral was going to be me, safe and sound. And I had the evidence that was going was filmed watching the news on television. He was smiling. He was happy about his blood brother's death. But the real shock for Kemal came 3 days later, because the person who came to my funeral was going to be me, safe and sound, and I had the evidence that was going to ruin his life. Henry was filmed watching the news on television. He was smiling. He was happy about his blood brother's death. But the real shock for Kemal came 3 days later, because the person who came to my funeral was going to be me, safe and sound, and I had the evidence that was going to ruin his life. Funeral day. 200 people gathered. Kemal in the front row playing the grieving brother role. Emily was really crying. It was time for speeches. Henry stood up. My brother John. Then the door opened. I walked in. The hall froze. Emily fainted. Thanks for my funeral, I said into the microphone. And then the video recordings I showed shocked the 200-person hall, because every second of Kemal's plan to kill me was recorded. I turned on the projector. First video, Henry under my car, cutting the brake hoses. Second video, him on the phone. It will look like an accident. No one will suspect. Third video, his joy while watching my death news. 200 people witnessed. His family, friends, business partners. Everyone saw Kemal's true face. But the real bomb exploded now, because the documents I pulled out of my bag showed not only attempted murder, but also what he had been stealing from me for 15 years. I opened the files. Stealing money from company accounts for 5 years. Transferred 2 million teraliters to his own account. Fake invoices. Phantom employees. Forging my signature. And the best part, I said smiling, while committing these crimes, he was planning to kill me. Henry tried to run, but police were waiting at the door. 3 months later the court decision came, and this decision completely destroyed Kemal's life. But real justice was just beginning. The trial lasted 8 weeks. The evidence was irrefutable. Attempted murder, 15 years prison embezzlement, 10 years forgery, 5 years, total 30 years prison sentence. But I wanted more, because he hadn't just tried to kill me. He had betrayed 15 years of brotherhood. And right then the call I got from Emily would take away Henry's last trump card, because the truth I learned would completely destroy him. Emily called. Henry, I need to tell you something. What happened, Emily? The children, they're not Henry's. Both children are yours. The world collapsed on me. The 7 and 5-year-old children were my sons. We did a DNA test. 99.9% match. Henry had been raising another man's children for 10 years. And when he learned this truth, he went crazy in prison. But my plan was just beginning. I went to see the children. They knew me, of course, as Uncle Henry. Kids, I'm going to tell you something, I said. When they learned the truth, they were shocked but then happy. Henry had never paid attention. I had always brought gifts. So you're a real father, said Jack. Can we live with you now, said Cecily. 6 months later the court decision was finalized, and that decision extinguished Kemal's last hope. I got custody of the children. I married Emily. Ironically, the woman Henry thought I stole was now really my wife. I grew the company alone. It became John Construction. It reached 50 million in value. Henry's house was sold. I paid his debts. His family lives on my money. But my last visit was to prison, and the words I said to him caused him to completely collapse. 2 years later, I visited him. He had changed a lot in prison. Lost weight. Aged. Why did you come? He said. To thank you. Thank for what? For trying to kill me. Because that's how I learned that you were never my brother. You were just a parasite, benefiting from my success. And the last words I said caused him to completely break down. Henry, the children now call me Dad. Emily is very happy with me. The company's value is 50 million teraliters. You will rot here for 28 more years. While you tried to kill me, I killed your life. The difference, I was smart. You were just cunning. Henry started crying. Today Jack is 9. Cecily is 7.
Both know me as their real father. Emily and I have a happy marriage. Henry, he'll stay in prison for 26 more years. He'll get out at 54, with nothing. The lesson from this story is real power is taking revenge with intelligence. Henry was strong, but not smart. I was both strong and smart. If someone betrays you, don't rush. Make your plan. Gather evidence. And most importantly, beat them at their own game. Because remember, the greatest revenge is coming out stronger than the damage your enemy caused you. This was a true story. If you face similar situations, use your mind, not your emotions. Like, share, and follow. Because life is full of lessons, and I'm telling you the truth.